Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christiana Davidson. I'm a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, and I want to welcome you to my channel. And this channel is all about the impact of childhood wounds, especially those that come from having had a narcissistic parent or parents, and how to heal from it in adulthood, because that's all of our responsibility. Yes, we were victim back then. We were innocent, but now the responsibility lies with us to do the work that's needed in order to heal. That's nobody else's job but our own. So the topic today is along those lines. It's titled Healing from Narcissistic Abuse and the Fear of Losing Your Comfort. So, when you first begin to see the truth about the toxicity of the relationships you had with your parents, either one or both parents in childhood, it can bring a lot of shock at the start. It can be a shock, in other words, but it can also bring some relief. That, finally you're beginning to realize, hang on a second, it wasn't me that was the problem. I wasn't the cause of the difficulties in my family, and I'm not the problem that I was perhaps made out to be. That there was nothing wrong with you, in other words, but rather that your parents and their parents in the multi-generational system of toxicity that gets passed down was the problem. Now, the main issue with the narcissistic parent or the borderline parent is that they abuse in order to get their needs met. That's what abuse means. You use somebody else. So the narcissistic parent uses their child in the attachment bond. So at the attachment level is where the abuse, the being used, begins. And you can imagine how, if you have been used since your first moments, I would suggest even sometimes within the womb, because that's your first attachment bond within the womb of the mother. If you have been used subconsciously by the mother, even within the womb, then you have already got a pattern that's set up of understanding that connection and love and getting your needs met comes from being usable, being beneficial to somebody else. So let's explore this now in a bit greater depth. In other words, when you have a narcissistic parent or a borderline parent, you are an extension of their world. So that means basically their needs come first, always. You are sent, you are given to them by life, the universe, God, for their benefit in their life. And thus, from the earliest of days, children of narcissistic parents learn, internalize that in order to survive, they are there to attune to their parents' wishes and needs. It's just what the norm is. They must be of benefit to them. That's what being in a relationship is about. So when you are somehow meeting the parents' emotional needs, or you are supporting their self-esteem and their public false self-image, then you find the comfort, the relief, the safety that you seek. So you learn that to abandon yourself is a good thing. Abandon yourself in order to soothe the abandonment fears of the parent, that actually that brings you comfort in abandoning yourself. By abandoning yourself, the relationship becomes win-win, because you get comfort in comforting them, in meeting their, pleasing them. So it's a win-win. You abandoning yourself becomes a comfort place for you. Oh, that's where you find the relief, by abandoning yourself. And you can hear how detrimental and abusive that is. The thing is, though, these parents, these narcissistic borderline parents, on the one hand, are often frustrated by your need for comfort. And as children, of course, that's what you're seeking. You're just seeking somebody to manage your emotions for you, to help you understand them and to process them, to be able to manage them in a helpful way. You need your parent to do that for you. You can't do it as a child yourself. You just can't, and you're not meant to be able to. That's the role of the parent. But these parents, unfortunately, due to their own lack in childhood, their own abuses in childhood, are not able to soothe efficiently, to soothe adequately. And often they may become annoyed when you refuse to be comforted by how they're comforting you. They almost sort of tell you to be comforted, go and comfort yourself, or, you must respond by being comforted by this. But on the other hand, not all narcissistic parents are always frustrated, especially not the covert borderline parent. And why is this? Well, when you are crying and in need of emotional comfort, it is an opportunity for them to receive comforting from you too, and a reassurance to them of your dependence upon them, that they are the mother or they are the father and you need them. You are in the child role, which is where they want to keep you, because it's a dependent role. In other words, when you're in distress as a child, it keeps you from abandoning them. They actually get something from your emotional distress in some ways, of hugging you, holding you. And so the comforting you experience feels strangely like an exchange, even in childhood sometimes, or it's a bit off somehow. Like somehow it's feeding some kind of mutual bond, rather than it being safe and held in the arms of the parent, usually the mother. It can feel like there's a holding on to this somehow, or a mutual exchange. And not that that's a bad thing, it's just when there's a toxic element to this, it of course is unhealthy. The parent needs you to soothe their abandonment fears. And when you both come together, it can feel like a mutual safety. This is the toxic element part here. Now, you're supposed to feel safe in the arms of your parent, but they shouldn't really be getting their safety needs met in you. And that's where it can feel a bit icky to people sometimes. It's like the parent feels soothed and safe when soothing you, or when you need them. So we can often go into adulthood with yearnings for this kind of attachment to another, where you kind of become one where you become enmeshed in a healthy need, in an unhealthy need rather, for another person to find your comfort, one person to be your safe base, and for you to be that for them. Because that's what you experienced in childhood. You know, together with your mother, you were both a safe base for each other. It was a mutual safe basing. And when that happens in childhood, you know, just as the parent soothes you, then you're also required to soothe the parent in exchange. That's what they kind of expect, because it's like a child bringing up a child. That they don't have the skills. They are still children themselves emotionally. And so they're seeking out that unconditional love from you that they never got from their parent. They need you to soothe them too. So it's a highly dysfunctional comforting that takes place. So you learn in childhood that to be beneficial by comforting your parent and being what they need gets you a feeling of being comforted and being safe. I abandon myself to meet the needs of my parent and be what they need me to be. Is that, you know, their substitute partner? Is that their substitute parent? Is that their slave? Is that their best friend? I'm willing to abandon myself to all of these things and become that for them, because then I know that they're okay, and then of course I know I can be too, and that's my comfort. Oh, a feeling of comfort, because it gives you some power over a chaotic situation, a feeling of power. But then, of course, we take this into adult relationships. We're still wanting to find that comfort by abandoning ourselves, because we don't want to let go of that. How else are we going to find comfort? It's the only comfort we've ever really known. And that's, of course, where therapy can be so helpful, because you start to realize you can find a healthy, safe base. You can find healthy comforting and be taught how to comfort yourself. And that's key to healing often. It has been in my experience anyway, personally and professionally. But you also learn in childhood that comfort and dependence or enmeshment go together. That being enmeshed with another is comforting. To be separate is distressing and uncomfortable. But the thing is, in order to heal now, we have to come out of this toxicity. We really do. And it's not easy. We have to risk losing that toxic comfort, which often plays out in addictions as well, you know, external addictions to hide this inner addiction to comfort of toxic relationships. So how do we do this? Well, we have to let go of the strange comfort that comes from staying in our old role of non-assertion, of abandoning ourselves, of not being assertive, of not having needs. Or, as well, rather, we have to let go of the beneficial self-image that we took on that met the parents' needs. Because that's a place of comfort for us as well. We have to let go of that self-image that we internalized and took on in order to survive, that it has become comforting for us. It's our own safe base. This other false role, almost a false image that we take on of ourselves, which is nurtured by the parent, of course. Okay. So we have to feel the fear of not having unhealthy comfort anymore. And it's a withdrawal. It's like a drug withdrawal. It's probably one of the hardest because this is really at the heart of the attachment wound here. And we have to be bold and we have to be brave. And it can take time. It's okay. One step at a time. But it happens, it happens more and more the more you begin to heal, the more clarity you see about things. And the more liberated you become, the stronger you become. Bit of a muscle that we have to develop is in stepping out in our authentic selves, not the role that got us comfort. Comfort. That role that required abandonment of the authentic self. Now we have to embody the authentic self, and that means putting down these addictions, these unhealthy comforts. And that is exactly the work I help my clients to do in my programs that work on both the conscious and the subconscious. And they're aimed at debunking that self-image that you took on, the role that you took on, seeing it clearly, and then empowering you with the truth about yourself in order to set you free. I have various tools as well that I've created for being able to comfort yourself, being able to soothe yourself, and they really do work. So if you're needing any support in this, I would be delighted to hear from you. Please check out my website, www.delight, that's DELIGHTINU, the letter U.com. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. So please follow me on both of those for daily little thoughts to accompany on your journey to wellness. Have a great day, everybody. I hope this was helpful. Take care.